People always tell me about their Wyoming LLCs and their Delaware corporations and Nevada companies, and they're always really excited about forming in these states because they feel like they're really smart in doing that. Well, I'm going to break it down for you today why they may be doing absolutely nothing by forming those companies there. I'm Donna Bordeaux with Calculated Moves, and I help small business owners make sure that they're growing their business into a successful way of life for themselves. And when we talk about LLCs and forming and what state should I form in, there's a lot of confusion and misinformation out there. So let's break it down. When you form an entity, you are trying to do that in most cases for legal protection. Also sometimes for tax reasons, but the first reason is for legal protection. When you form an LLC, you're setting up a boundary fence. Kind of like, you've seen those invisible fences for dogs. And this is similar to that for a business. So you're setting up a boundary around you and say, I have protection if I'm inside this boundary. Well, if you operate a business in the state of Michigan, and you form a Wyoming LLC, you've just set your fence out to Wyoming. So you've put your logical legal protection all around you while you're operating in the state of Wyoming. Does that really do a thing for you if you're operating out of Michigan? No, it doesn't. Once you leave the bounds of the state that you have formed your LLC in or your corporation, you're not protected anymore unless you register with that state too. So you form an LLC in a state, that's called your domiciled state, where it's originally formed. If you need to register in another state, that's called a foreign registration. Not foreign company or foreign person, just foreign to your original domiciled state. So when you form an entity, you're only getting the law protection for that entity within the bounds of that particular state. So I recently was talking with an entrepreneur, and he told me about he formed a Wyoming LLC. And I said, oh, that's awesome. Where do you do business? And when he told me he was in the state of Michigan, I said, what about Michigan? Are you registered there as an LLC? The answer was no. And a lot of people have that same mistake because nobody bothers to tell them how LLCs work. So, if you're registered to do business in a state, that's where you need to have the LLC. Many people form in these other states because they have some pretty good laws based on debt collection or based on hiding identity, things like that. But that's not really important if you still have to register in your home state where you're actually operating. If you register a Delaware corporation and you're doing business in Michigan, you still got to tell Michigan who you are. People might not be able to find you in Delaware, but they can find you in Michigan. So watch out and make sure that if you think you need fancy protections that exist based on Wyoming, Nevada, all these different states, make sure you talk to an attorney or somebody who can really help provide you with real advice. Don't just second guess this because you could just be spending money with a Secretary of State in some other state for absolutely no purpose. And as a bonus to this, if you form an LLC, you have to be using it to get its protections. So using it means it has its own federal ID number. You have your bank accounts registered under that ID number, and that's where you're doing business and filing taxes is under that federal ID number. So that's my tip of the day. If you've got some issues or questions about how you form LLCs, we are not in the practice of law, but I can help you facilitate getting your LLC formed and help you get some advice on where you should best register that company. Check us out at calculatedmoves.com. Check out the link below.